You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters. Well, growing up, Dandy Don Meredith was in the booth with Howard Cosell on Monday Night Football. And at the end of the game, it became a tradition to sing Willie Nelson's "Turn Off the Lights, the Party's Over." Well, the party may be over for Antonio Pierce and Aidan O'Connell after whatever in the hell happened, whatever in the hell that was, from the Las Vegas Raiders yesterday. Now, I'll be the first to admit, we've talked about this in the past, that turned into a Vikings home game. There were so many freaking Vikings fans there. I was like, holy crap. I mean, the Vikings X, the official X page, put up video of Vikings fans in Las Vegas. And look, I said, they moved that team there, and they're moving the A's there too, because they wanted that to be a tourist NFL destination. In other words, they wanted fans to come into town. Oh, we're Vikings fans. It's cold as hell right now. We're freezing our nards off. Let's go to Vegas. We're going to gamble, and we're going to watch the Vikings and the Raiders. Well, you showed up to a 3-0 game. A 3-0 game. And even worse, wow, that was coming off a bye, which is never a good sign, ever, for a coach. For a coach or coaching staff to come off a bye and lose a game, but more so, look that inept in doing so. I mean, they set offensive football back 100 years yesterday. And, I mean, you had fans online, I kid you not, saying things you never thought you would see again. Should the Raiders bench Aidan O'Connell for Jimmy Garoppolo? That happened yesterday. It was that bad. And look, the Raiders, let's just say it, they're out. I mean, they're technically still in, technically speaking, but they're out. I mean, they're down at 13, 5-8. There are a gazillion teams in front of them. I mean, we see it right there. Man, and you can't objectively say any of the, honestly, of all these teams in front of them right now, there's only two teams that I think that I can say is probably worse. The Chargers, maybe because they lost Justin Herbert, and the Steelers look like a hot-ass mess right now. So, yeah, those are the couple of teams that you would think would falter, but it's clear. Jake Browning, he can play quarterback for the Bengals. The Broncos won again. C.J. Stroud got hurt, so that may open the door with the Texans. But I think the point is, this is now a mess. And Aidan O'Connell and Antonio Pierce, they're fighting for their jobs now.
No excuse there. It is shocking. Plenty of time to prepare for opponent. Knew what they did, nothing new. Just, again, poor coaching, poor performance by the players. Starts with myself.
Starts with himself. At least he's accountable. At least he's accountable. I like it. This is an interesting question right here that's asked of Aidan O'Connell.
Becomes the goals the rest of the way now. There's 4 games left. You're 5-8. What becomes the objective in the goals?
Yeah, I think it's just a one-game season every week. You know, I think the opponents are difficult every week. It's the NFL, and so especially now this next week, we have a short week. We got to kind of turn the page pretty quickly and move on to play against the Chargers on Thursday night. So I think just taking one game at a time, not biting off more than we can chew, but taking it one at a time.
Okay, typical cliche answer. I will say this. It's a good thing they play on Thursday night. You got to wash this crap right out of your mouth quick. These are PFF grades for quarterbacks. Aidan O'Connell's 29 right now, and this has not been updated yet. After whatever in the hell yesterday was. And I got to tell you, Nick Mullins, the Raiders better be glad that Nick Mullins didn't start this game. They might have lost 17-0. Because as soon as he came in, the Vikings immediately moved the ball. I mean, he comes in with what? 4.5 minutes left, something like that, 5 minutes, 9 for 13, 83 yards. It became pretty clear pretty quickly he could throw the ball all over the place on the Raiders. And that he was going, the one thing, being a Niners fan, Nick Mullins was a Niner, he's not afraid to throw that ball everywhere. It's ugly today. You see this. The interim good vibes are gone. It's gone. I mean, this is silverandblackpride.com. Yes, players and fans like Pierce, you're seeing that headline. Pierce and O'Connell probably aren't it. Yikes. Yes, players and fans like Pierce, but the Raiders are struggling, and it may be difficult for him to keep the job. As it stands now, owner Mark Davis will likely look for an improvement next month, and that's understandable. And rookie quarterback Aidan O'Connell struggling. It also is very likely Las Vegas will be in the market for a starting quarterback for the second straight offseason. It wouldn't be a surprise to see Jimmy Garoppolo again this season. I will tell you this, folks. I told my wife while I was watching, I was like, man, they put Jimmy Garoppolo in, they win this game. If they put Jimmy Garoppolo in this game, they win it. And I mean, he's just going to be able to move the ball better. Raiders have scored 46 points total in the last 4 games. Davante Adams is wasted. Well, that ties into this. It ties into, well, let's see. Hold on. Where is it? Dadgummit. It is this one. Davante Adams makes uncharacteristic move following Raiders' historic loss. Guys, this was an all-timer. An all-timer. Wide receiver Davante Adams was a victim of a lifeless offense as he only had 7 catches for 53 yards. It was the 6th time this season he was held under 60 receiving yards, and he wasn't thrilled. According to this post right here, Davante Adams left the room before it was open to the media after the game. As a team captain, Adams almost always fulfills his responsibility to speak to the media after games if it's a win or loss. The fact that he left isn't a good sign of how he feels about the current state of the team. This will be a situation to watch as he's already expressed frustration in the past. You got to think, whatever happened yesterday may be a clear indication Davante Adams is going to want out. The whole football program, our football program, everybody, Pierce said, got to win. It ain't good enough, so got to win. Las Vegas defense was stout against the Vikings, but the Raiders finished with 202 yards or fewer and no points for the 15th time in franchise history. It was the lowest scoring NFL game in 16 years. Just the third in the past 40 years to end at 3-0. The Raiders had their best opportunity on their first possession of the third quarter after driving to the Vikings' 10-yard line in 5 plays. A holding penalty pushed the Las Vegas back 10 yards. On the next play, Hunter Renfrow lost a fumble. Quote, we're moving the ball, Pierce said. There were opportunities, penalties, turnovers for us to put points on the board. And we know, guys, penalties, that's tends to be a coaching issue, and we know that. Wow. It was I watched this game. It was rough. Rough. Luckily, it was red zone, but they showed a ton of this game. You know, it was in that afternoon window, and there's only 4 games, so they show a ton of it. And, boy, it was rough. It was until they put Nick Mullins in. That was the first time either team had a heartbeat. Now, the Vikings lost Justin Jefferson very early on, or I contend that game might have gotten out of hand even sooner. But coming off of a bye, you can't lose a game like this at home. And now it's going to call into question a lot of things. If you look around social media right now, there's a lot of Rich Bisaccia, Jim Harbaugh. I mean, the Raiders fans, now they're calling for Jimmy G. I don't necessarily – look, you're out of the playoffs very likely. Very likely you're out, all right? And, I mean, you might have a 1 or 2% chance, one of those kind of things, to sneak in. But if you sneak in, what are you going to do? You're not going to be able to score any points in all likelihood. So I think you do have to continue to evaluate the quarterback, and I do think he's got starting potential, but you got to know for sure. You got to. This is why sometimes so many people are hiring offensive coaches. Okay, because this day and time it becomes about scheme. Can you scheme up the plays? I mean, you've got 49ers players and Dolphins players. They're running wide ass open out there. And it's because of scheme. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's great players on both teams, but you get the point. They're schemed up, and wide receivers have got 4 yards of separation, and in some cases 10 yards. So that's where you start thinking about offensive coaches, or if you're going to play smash mouth, you've got to have the best of the best in a smash mouth situation. You've got to have a Jim Harbaugh, and I still think they lose him to the Bears. I don't know, but this was a disaster. If you're a Raiders fan today, you wake up and everything that was good about Antonio Pierce and Aidan O'Connell, you got to hit the pause button for the rest of the year and see what happens. But coming off of a bye, that offense was not ready to go. It was not ready to go. It was brutal. My goodness, it was. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.